Alrighty, so this is Rovaniemi, Lapland, Finland. Time is almost 10 p.m. and the sun is still shining, and we are going slowly on our way towards the midnight sun time in Lapland, when the sun hovers the horizon during the whole night. And it's it's still pretty wintry here these last few days. As you can see, the river has not released itself from the ice yet, and the ice should be still quite thick. So it will take a week or two, something like that. And more up north, there is even more snow and ice to be melted. And as usually, this is Alex from All About Lapland, giving you a fresh update from the Arctic Circle. Last time when I was live, it was plus 15 and I was in my t-shirt and it was nice and lovely and warm. But during this past few even weeks, not even days, winter came back and we are having really cold weather and negative temperatures at night. Now it's around 0 degrees centigrade, maybe plus 4, plus 3, plus 4 at daytime, and we are having fresh snow. So here we have fresh snow from last night, and the ground was white everywhere in the morning, and this is what's left of the snow. And of course there is now old snow, which is this gray and dull snow mixed with the fresh one, which is a bit brighter. So it melted somewhat, the fresh snow, during the daytime, but at nighttime everything was white. So this is quite normal fluctuations between summer and winter. Really funny season called spring, with the elements of both. And you can have all the snow. Yes, that's what it seems what's happening. Oh, look, here we have like a very thick patch of fresh snow. Wow, I love snow, guys. This is nice. Fresh snow. So cool. So I'm even refreshing myself with a bit of with a bit of snow. So we were quite on track with spring, with warm weather and everything was melting. But now for this past few weeks there's been hardly any kind of new melting at all. This is a city area, so there is not so much snow left here. But in the forest there is still like at least 20-30 centimeters of snow, and it hasn't melted in this past few days like at all, because well, at nighttime it's frozen and at daytime it's barely warm enough to get the melting started again. So this means the following. So when the river starts to break from the ice and the water level will go up significantly, in a matter of days it will gain a few meters. So now it seems that it will take probably 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks. No, not maybe 4 weeks. I would say 2.5 to 3 weeks until we will reach the flood level, when it really starts to flow. All this snow which is in northern Lapland will melt and it will go here near this one of these rivers. So the area where I'm walking now will most likely be completely underwater, like no kidding, like literally. All this ground will be underwater because the water level will rise 2 or 3 meters. And the funny thing is that they've built a museum here, the Articum Museum, at a very beautiful spot on the river. But every year when snow is melting, it's in danger of being flooded. It depends on the year. Sometimes the water level is higher or lower. But you see this dark line over here. This is the last flood we had 2 years ago. This is the water level that it reached. So it was only left with a few centimeters, and then it would overflow and flood the museum. So what they have been doing, they have been building fences in this area and also installing pumps. I will go there and show you. There are pumps already in place in case that the water would start flooding into the underground areas of the of the museum, so they will pump the water out, and also they will probably install a fence, an additional fence, temporary one, so the water would not go easily overboard. So a bit of a challenging place, a beautiful one, but a challenging place near the river. I guess the place is fine, but they could have made it like a little higher, like 1 meter higher of this whole level would be nice. And inside these bunkers, I would say, it's the big holes of the halls, not holes, but halls of the museum, so exhibitions which are running on both sides. So this is what's in danger of being flooded. So fun times ahead for the museum folks again. And that's the kind of the same thing which has been happening every spring for this past 30 years that the museum has been up and running here. So not single once it was flooded, because they do a good work of protecting it, but they have a few busy weeks in springtime. And this area where I'm walking in, it's called the Arktikum Garden, so it's kind of a nice landscape place that they've built around here, around the museum. So when they constructed the museum, they dug up this pond here, and they've installed all kind of different things, pathways, and there are some art thingies popping up every year or so, like this thing, which reminds me of like a igloo. I call it a kota art. So it's like a place of the traditional triangular igloo design where the indigenous Sami people would dwell. So this is the area, and they have some Easter eggs here, so to speak. They have some Viking art. I'm not sure that it's the original one. I don't think so. Otherwise, they wouldn't be placing it under the open, under the elements. But it has some kind of, Viking-inspired scriptures, like the runes or something like that. Anyhow, there are lots of cool little things to find at the Articum Park. But I love it for two things in particular. So first of all, in winter time, it's quite a cool place to see northern lights if it's clear in this area. So usually they appear over there, over this piece of the horizon in the north, like an arch or something like that. Now, of course, we don't have nighttime anymore, because sunset is 10 p.m. like right now. Sun is setting, and starting from May, we don't have nighttime anymore. It's just daylight around the clock, and it's quite a beautiful time. As you can see, the sunset colors are quite beautiful, reflecting in the ice now. And in a few weeks, the sun will just go further and further up, and will be up for later and later time, and probably we'll have some water going instead of ice in these 2 or 3 weeks. So in summertime, it's a great place to catch this midnight sun, which basically hovers over this area before it goes behind the hills. It doesn't set below the horizon, but it just sets behind the hills from this perspective, and it just goes up around 2:30 a.m. in this area. So nice place to see the nature's elements in play. So now this place is pretty quiet. Usually there's a little bit more people, but I guess this cold weather, now it's barely 0 degrees centigrade, so it's going to be cold at night, -5 centigrade, something like that. So it doesn't inspire people for for going out. But usually you can see some joggers and whatnot here, even at winter time. And in summertime, this place comes alive. Now you can see there is nothing yet. Spring is quite late here in the north. There is no grass yet, and it will take probably at least a week until we get some grass, and maybe 2 weeks until we get some green leaves on the trees. And when it happens, this is a nice area for, you know, getting together, walking around, and maybe even making a picnic. So the history of this place is quite amazing. So in the old days, there was not this river or this pond. It was just, you know, shoreline like that. And what they used to do, they used to cut wood in the north, and they would float it over that river that we just saw, and they would pick it up from the river in this area. And there was a sawmill just right here on this place. There is nothing left of it except one pillar over there, one concrete pillar. And so they would intercept all the floating logs. They would bring it up here, cut it, and the railway station was just right here. So they would put all the logs and you know, send them south to the buyers or to the owners or whatever. So it's quite an interesting thing, and it's a bit of a shame there is nothing left of it. There is not even a sign that would tell you all that history, and you just need to be like a local and know this stuff. So I wish they would spare something from that time, but they didn't. You have more kind of this new kind of art, which is nice, which is wooden art, but it doesn't really tell you about the history of this place. Of course, inside the museum, you have a whole exhibition down there dedicated to local livelihoods, and you have nice pictures of these logmen, lumberjacks living in the forest and cutting all the trees. But I mean, physically here, there's unfortunately nothing to remind you of these days and tell you like what's been here just 100 years ago. I mean, it's a nice looking place. I just feel there is so much history here to be told to the visitors, and indeed this log cutting industry has been the biggest industry about 100 years ago. So it does need a sign with a picture of the old days, says Bruce. Quite right. At least one big stand with a picture. I think I will tell them. I will tell the museum people if they want to do something like that. Maybe they will listen. So one of the pillars of the sawmill, it's that one. It's that, you know, you can see it over here. So behind it, it's the new bridge, but that pillar, it's all that remains of this sawmill which was here. So it was literally right by this river, which is called Ounasjoki, which flows all the way from the north, like 500 kilometers. So they would just put logs into the river upstream, maybe a few hundred kilometers away, and this is where they would intercept the logs. Anyway, about 30 years ago, they've built this quite amazing new building, the museum, the Articum Museum, which it's quite interesting to go inside, and they've done some really cool, you know, area here to hang out, and they've dug out this pond, which is quite beautiful. But as I said, it's every spring it gets flooded, so even there you have a kind of scale of how much the water level goes up. So you can just go in the morning with your fresh coffee. You can just, you know, sip a coffee like that, and you can see, the water level is going up or down. So you can see that the scale is still for, I think it says 75, 76, 77, something like that. I don't have my glasses, so I cannot see. So there's at least 3 meters to go. And if it goes that high, that area where I walked in the beginning will be underwater. So the flood levels every spring, they differ a little bit depending on how fast the snow melts. So if it melts really slowly, the water level go up, but it's maintained at a higher level, but it doesn't overflow. But if everything melts all together because of the warm weather, then the water level will go up. And this gray color, I think it's one of the it's about at that level where the flood went 2 years ago, which is almost the floor. It's below floor level of Articum, and it's the floor level of this street. So If it goes up higher than that, all of the water will go inside the museum, because the floor level of the museum is basically this line as well. So they do two things. First of all, they do this extra fence here to protect the water from physically going over. That's one thing. And then the second thing is they've installed the pump over there, and the pump's pipes are just going over just right here, you know, don't need to go far. So they've dug some ways from down there to pump out the water going out and back into the sea, you know. Just joking. So now the water level is pretty much at where they are in autumn time, when it's quite low, and that's how it freezes. And it's just, you know, it freezes downwards, so all of the water freezes inside. But once we hit warmer days at about plus 10 degrees during daytime for a few days, then it will all crack open, the water level will rise, the snow will start to melt, and this place will look quite different. And of course, when that happens, I assume in about 2 to 3 weeks, I will go here another time and show you how it is. But for now, it's quite cool in every sense. It's not so warm that it will start melting, and we are still a few weeks away from water going up. So this is inside the museum, and you can see that the exhibitions are just to the left and to the right. They are inside these doors. So you have this amazing glass tube in the middle, which is quite a beautiful place to be, and you have the exhibitions which are physically behind these walls. So, and it all from melting snow. Yes, exactly. There is incredible amounts of melted. There is incredible amounts of snow that's still waiting to be melted in the north of Lapland. So we have some local stroller here. So we are near the city, so it almost looks like all the snow is gone over here. But in the forest, just any forest, just on that side of the river, as soon as you go away from the highway in the forest, like there is still physically lots of snow, like at least 30 centimeters, 30 centimeters. And the more north you go, the less thawing there has been, so there is more and more snow. And if you go to the highlands in Lapland, in Kilpisjärvi or Utsjoki, there are places up there between the mountains in the tundra that have barely seen any spring yet. It's almost like at 100% or 80% of the amount of snow that they still have here. It melted maybe a little bit, but there is millions or billions of cubic meters of snow that are still up there. They are higher than here, so all of that snow will melt, will go into small streams, then go into bigger streams, small rivers, and then going into bigger rivers like the one behind me, the Ounasjoki. Or there is another river which is coming from that direction, which is Kemijoki. So all of that melted water needs to go somewhere, and it will go down all the way, basically following these streams and rivers into the Bay of Bothnia, into the sea. About 120 kilometers from here back into the sea. So that's why we have a flood in this area. So a little overview of the area. The sun is now down below the hill, and we have quite beautiful colors on the horizon, and the river still quite frozen. So it's also possible it will melt in batches, so probably it will melt here first, and when the ice cracks, all of that ice will be flushed down until you can find like a new edge which is not cracked yet and hasn't melted and flushed down yet. And it's also quite a beautiful sight when it just cracks up, and all of the ice which is on top of the river will just start pass us by. It has already happened in the city center. Down there, there is a small batch which has already, you know, cracked up and just flushed down, but it's just a small area of a few hundred meters. So the most beautiful moment is when this this whole ice from many hundred kilometers just cracks up and goes down. That's a beautiful sight, which I will try to capture next. And we have Rennie saying thanks for detailing about museum. So now we are basically on top of the museum's exhibitions. So probably yeah, you have these light thingies. This is for the bathrooms, I think. Yes, the bathrooms are down there, and you have this kind of natural light going to the bathroom. But but the exhibitions are just under this this area, and we can take another peek into the museum from here. So it's 2 stories, so the ground level, and then you have another level of exhibitions here as well. Whew. Lots of info packed in just 20 minutes. All right, guys, thanks a lot for joining. I'm really pleased to communicate and interact with you. And as soon as we have some change in the situation, so the water level will go up, or we'll have the ice start flowing on the river, I'll do another live and update it with you. So I'll finish with this beautiful panorama view over the Museum of Articum, the pipes, and and the panorama of the frozen river. All right, see you in the next one. Bye bye.